How you doing, guys? I'd gotten a message actually from someone a while back about maybe making a video about firearms, because I haven't actually done that too much, and specifically about what would be a good choice for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with firearms, and a good choice for like self-defense or a shit hit the fan preparedness gun. And what I wanted to say first off is that that's what this video is oriented towards, is people who don't have a lot of experience, probably don't have any guns already. If they do, maybe they have one and don't use it very often or aren't familiar with it. So if you have a favorite gun or favorite caliber, this video is not for you. If you have like 10 guns already, this is not directed at you. Definitely if you can instantly tell me the difference between which one you like more, an AR or an AK, then this video is definitely not for you. So don't put a bunch of stuff in the comments about like your opinion on different calibers for self-defense and everything, because this video is designed at someone who doesn't have any guns and to get them to have at least one that they're comfortable with and can use and will be effective in a variety of circumstances. It's not about a shit hit the fan arsenal or sniping people from 200 yards away when they're, coming up on your homestead or anything like that. Like I said, this is getting people who don't have a weapon now and getting them that basic level of self-defense capability that's going to work in a wide variety of situations. So with that being said, I thought about this a long time and I tried to come up with a kind of a one-size-fits-all, and there's a couple that I could say, get this gun without even paying attention to the circumstance. But what I figured out was, when I was thinking about this, is that there's usually a reason why someone doesn't have a gun already. If they're interested in preparedness and or even just self-sufficiency of any kind, or just anyone for that matter, there will be a reason why they don't have a weapon already. So instead of trying to decide just what's the perfect gun for everyone, I decided to look at and figuring out which of those reasons is keeping someone from having a gun, and then making my recommendation based on that. And because basically, if you're just talking about someone needs one gun to be able to have some basic level of self-defense capabilities, then pretty much there isn't really a gun that's not going to work. Like obviously you can say something like a 22 is going to be a little underpowered, but it's still better than nothing. It can still work. In fact, more people are killed with 22s than any other type of gun out there, mostly because they're more common, but the fact is you can kill people with them. And but to be honest, the only reason I would purposefully choose something less than a 9mm for self-defense is if I was really concerned about size for concealed carry or something like that. But since this is not directed at concealed carry, it's directed at kind of more of like an in-home weapon, I'm going to just go ahead and suggest right off the bat that you might as well get something at least a 9mm or greater. 9mm is a good compromise for a lot of people, especially beginning shooters, for a lot of reasons, simply because it's not a bad recoil. The guns are slightly cheaper usually. They're easy to come by, the ammo's cheap and all that. But anything really from like a 38 on up is fine. It will work, but you just want to keep certain things in mind. So with that being said, let's address the reasons why someone doesn't have a gun already, and then we can talk about finding a perfect gun to kind of counteract whatever that basic fear or logistical setback is. The first one, actually I'm just going to go through the list and then go on what the guns I think. I think there's 4 major reasons why someone would not have a gun already. A 5th one possibly being that they just don't believe in guns or something like that, or they don't like them, but I'm not really going to address that because that type of person isn't going to be watching this video trying to find out what type of gun to buy. Once you've moved past that, if you haven't got a gun already, it's probably because of one of these 4 reasons. Either one would be the cost. They just think the guns are too expensive, they can't afford it, and so they haven't taken the leap yet. The second reason would be fear of the gun like going off or harming them somehow, or their children. The third reason would be a fear of not being able to operate it properly, specifically in like a stressful situation. And the 4th one would be fear of the gun itself, like fear of recoil, fear of pain, or the noise or something like that. So I'm going to start from the list, and you guys, if you're watching this and you're a beginner looking for a gun that you want for self-defense, find out which of these reasons is the biggest reason why you don't have a gun already. Maybe it's more than one, and there'll be some overlap too. So some of these guns will fit multiple categories, and then I'll pick a gun that I think would be specifically best for you based on which of those issues is really being a hang-up for you. So the first one is the cost. Now, a lot of people think guns are extremely expensive because a lot of people spend money on guns, a lot of money, and a lot of guns are extremely expensive. Like this Kimber Ultra Carry, I think was around $900 to buy new, which is not a cheap gun. And someone may see this and not know the difference between this and many other guns and think the guns are way out of their price range. Whereas this Springfield XD subcompact was closer to 500. It was 550, I think, and it's still a great gun. A lot cheaper, but it's still 500 bucks. You know, that could be a whole week's paycheck for a lot of people. In fact, it is. In fact, it's more than a week's paycheck for a lot of people. So what I would recommend, if cost is really an issue, there's a lot of used guns that you could probably get for like 150 bucks, but I would recommend just going to Walmart or somewhere that sells guns and getting a Mossberg pump, because they have them brand new, sometimes for like $198. And it's an awesome home defense gun. Probably this exact model is a little different probably than the ones you would get for 200 bucks. They're kind of more oriented towards hunting, so they'll have a little bit longer barrel. But just a home defense, all-purpose, should hit the fan preparedness gun. You can't go wrong with a 12-gauge shotgun. And at about 200 bucks brand new, it's hard to beat that. Like, you can look around and see if you can find a good quality gun for less than that. But if you don't know a lot about guns, it's hard to feel comfortable with a kind of an older used gun that you buy and not really knowing anything about it for less than 200 bucks. So I would just recommend going out there, saving up as long as you can. Bam, 200 bucks, you got a brand new 12 gauge, and you just can't go wrong with the 12 gauge shotgun in terms of home defense and all around general purpose self-defense weapon. Whether that's in a normal situation or shit hit the fan. The only thing you can't do with it is concealed carry, unless you're into trench coats. But since this video is directed at beginners and just basic self-defense, I'm not going to get into concealed carry. So if cost is your major issue, this is something to look at. $200 shotgun, brand new. They have them at Walmart. Next would be the fear of the gun going off. Some people have almost irrational fear of just picking up a gun and just bullets start flying out of it. I think a lot of that is due to the way the guns are portrayed in the media and stuff, as just being these dangerous objects that are killing people, and without really people thinking that someone has to be pulling the trigger. And it can be an accident. Guns have gone off accidentally a lot of times, and you hear about those in the news. So it's a legitimate fear for someone who's not particularly comfortable with guns, and it's healthy to have a respect for them going off, but you don't want to be paralyzed by that fear. So if that's one of your major setbacks for owning a gun, is that you're afraid of it really going off, I would recommend a revolver, maybe even a revolver with an external safety. Revolvers are, you can see what's happening, you can see the hammer being drawn back before it goes off, so it's not just like it's going to go off. They usually have a heavier trigger pull, so it's not just going to be touch the trigger and it goes off. And if you have an external safety, then there's another level in there, another step that you have to take before the gun can just go off. And like some guns like this and a lot of Glocks have no external safety, this Springfield. So this safety is here and on the trigger here. So if you're holding this gun properly in a shooting position and you pull the trigger, it will go off. So that can be frightening to some people, especially as a concealed carry gun. Some people are uncomfortable with that. Both of these, this Ruger P90 and my Kimber Alta Carry, both have external safeties. This one is an ambidextrous safety, which you would push up before it's ready to fire. And this is a right-handed 1911, so it has a thumb safety on the right-hand side. And yes, before everyone freaks out, this gun is in condition 1. I keep it loaded. This is my main self-defense gun. So it's loaded with the safety on, so don't freak out on me. Alright, so if that's your fear of the gun going off, make sure you just get a gun with an external safety. So stay away from the Glocks and the Springfields and stuff like that. Stick with either a 1911 style 45 or just any major brand handgun with an external safety. A revolver has the best of both worlds. A heavier trigger pull, external safety, exposed hammer so you can see what's happening. And you shouldn't have any fear once you practice with that. So if your fear is not being able to operate the gun, like some people, a lot of times women have this irrational fear that they just won't be able to figure it out. And a modern gun like this is a lot more complex, but still not that difficult. What I would recommend is just practicing. You'll find out that it's really not that hard. But if you want to get a gun now, I would suggest either a revolver, because there's really no way to mess it up. You only have like 3 or 4 functions that you need to learn. Other than pulling the trigger, the only other function you need to learn is how to open it up and reload it. And that doesn't necessarily have to be done under a stressful situation. It's good to learn that, but if you have a loaded revolver in your bedside nightstand, there's really no fear of you not being able to operate it when the time comes. You just grab it, point it, pull the trigger, and it will work. And another suggestion, if you want an automatic, would be something like a Glock or this Springfield, where you don't have to fiddle with safeties or anything like that. You put the magazine in, rack the slide, and the gun's ready to shoot. So those would be my suggestions, would be either a Glock 9mm or a revolver if you're really worried about operating the gun, specifically the revolver, because it just doesn't get more simple than that. Now, if your last reason for maybe not wanting to own a gun is recoil or pain, which is, again, common amongst women. First of all, I would recommend is getting out there and shooting a couple guns. It's not as bad as you think. Even like these 45s, these are both 45s, but they're both heavier guns. And in a lot of cases, I would say that the recoil on these is less, or felt less anyways, than on something like a Glock or the Springfield, which is a lot lighter. So even though this is only 40 cal, your hand is absorbing a lot more of the force simply because there's not as much mass to the gun. So a heavy revolver or a big gun like a Beretta M9. It's a 9mm, but the gun itself is rather large, so it will it doesn't have as much recoil. So something like that, like a bigger 9mm, or maybe even a shotgun like this in 20 gauge. So you get to absorb it, you get to hold it steady, absorb the recoil with your shoulder, and with the 20 gauge, it's not that bad at all, and it's certainly still powerful enough to take somebody out if you got some 20 gauge slugs or something like that. So that would be my suggestion, would be a big 9mm, a heavier gun like a revolver, or a 20 gauge shotgun. Now I will say overall, if you don't really have a specific fear, my one recommendation for you, if you're just like, hey, I don't care about specifics, I just need a good gun, what should I get? I would just say get a Glock 9mm. I honestly don't have a Glock here because personally, they're not one of my favorites, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And it may seem weird that I'm recommending a gun that I don't personally own, but again, this is videos for beginners. This is not a video for people who have a favorite gun, who can tell me that they like one or dislike the other. This is just, the Glock 9mm is like the Toyota Corolla of firearms. There's simply nothing wrong with them. Whether or not you like them or prefer other things, it's hard to find something bad to say about them in terms of like functionality. Like they're reliable, they're not that expensive, and just overall they're just good guns. So if that was if someone asked me what gun should I get and I don't know anything about the specifics, I don't know if they have a specific fear, I just say, hey, go grab yourself a Glock 9mm. You really can't go wrong with that. So that would be my one suggestion if you don't have a specific fear. If you have one of the specific hang-ups like I've mentioned before, then that's what this video is for, to address some of that. And, so if you guys have any comments on that are not about if your favorite gun, not about how much you hate Glocks or prefer 1911s or whatever, post it on this. Remember, this video is for people who are just getting started. I'll make some more videos in the future, like for different levels, maybe intermediate and expert level, where you guys can go crazy and tell me all about how 40 cal is better than 45, and then AKs are better than ARs, and the gas tubes are better than piston, or vice versa, or whatever. But for now, this is just for the people who want to get started, so don't clutter it up with opinions about stuff that really won't make a difference in a normal, just a household self-defense situation. Someone who's going to be firing their gun maybe once a year, you know what I mean? So that's what this video is for. Hope it's helpful for all those guys out there that are in the situation. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Subscribe, comment, yeah.